A significant shake-up of the financial system in almost 20 years and will affect almost every aspect of your financial life. Treasurer Scott Morrison is taking aim at surcharges and superannuation, and he joins me now. Scott, good morning to you.
G'day, Carl.
So how much are we going to have to pay to ensure bank safety here?
Well, that'll be up to banks what commercial decisions they make about the rates and how they price themselves, just like any other business. I mean, your costs of doing business change from time to time, but particularly small businesses, they won't often pass those costs on to their customers. So whatever costs are passed on to customers will be a commercial decision of the banks.
OK, so yesterday's changes may not affect anything. We may get charged more.
Well, yesterday we also saw that some of the smaller banks actually cut their mortgage rates, and even Westpac, who did put up their mortgage rate, also increased their term deposit rate. So that's good news for those who hold those, particularly self-funded retirees. So there'll be a mixture of responses from the financial sector, and at the end of the day, every player in that sector, every bank, every other provider has to justify to their customers what they charge.
Yep. Can you just explain, so we've got clarity here, in terms of the changes to credit card surcharges? Say, for example, we were booking a family holiday through Jetstar online or using cab charge. When will that excess be taken off?
Well, we would hope to do that no later than the 1st of July next year, and we'd hope to do it sooner. We've got to just consult a bit longer about how we phase it in. But you're exactly right. What's happening, Carl, is that it's around about 0.5% what the merchants get charged by the credit card providers, and we're going to legislate to ensure that they can't profiteer off that. So, I mean, some companies will charge up to 10% for that surcharge on what was only costing them 0.5%. So, you know, that's a practice that's got to come to an end. We've blown the whistle on that one, and we'll legislate to ensure that consumers are protected from that sort of profiteering.
So, say, for example, Jetstar wanted to charge 10% more. This will stop them from doing it?
Absolutely it will. As I said, if they're getting charged, say, 0.5% or 0.75%, then that's basically with perhaps a small recognition of the the technology they have to use to facilitate the payment, but that would be a very fractional cost.
Oh, but you're not a categoric on that. It can differ.
Well, I'd say, let's say it's 0.5% for argument's sake. As best as I could predict, I mean, 0.55% is what they get charged, not 10% or 6%.
But will there be a limit? Will that be legislated, the actual limit?
Yes, it will. We will legislate.
So say, for example, on 0.05%, what will you legislate?
Well, we'll work through the consultation on that, Carl, but all the fees that are being charged to the merchants by the cards will be different. And so what we're saying is you can't put a ridiculous markup on that. You can only
but you can't legislate either then, if you're saying you can't do anything about it.
I will be able to, Carl.
But what number will it be?
Well, it'll be a markup on the specific price which is being charged by the card provider.
And what's that number?
Well, that number will be different. It'll be a markup.
So you can't, therefore you can't legislate a number because it might vary.
No, Carl, I can legislate to stop people adding a markup
but what's
to
the
what
markup?
they're getting charged. Well, it might be 0.01%. OK? So, but we're getting a bit distracted. What we're saying is, let's say it's 0.5%, which is the average of what merchants get charged. Those merchants won't be able to pass on any more than that 0.5%. Right? They can't charge 7, they can't charge 2, they can't charge 1. They can only charge what it's costing them to actually provide that service. So there's no profiteering. We are ending the profiteering, and we will legislate to end the profiteering.
You seem a bit vague, but you seem a bit vague on that. May just because it's early days. Is that?
No, I'm not vague at all. It's absolute. There'll be a legislated ban on passing on costs that you're not incurring.
Okay. Well, why wouldn't these changes be in play by Christmas? I mean, you know how much we all spend at Christmas.
Well, we'll introduce it as quickly as we can, Carl, but we've just got to work with the sector to make sure you phase it in properly. There's a lot of businesses and merchants out there who are affected by this, and we need to ensure we work collaboratively and consultatively with those to ensure we get it right.
This is good news. Workers will have greater choice of default superannuation funds?
Absolutely, and as they should. It's their money. We shouldn't have unions and others telling workers where they can put their own hard-earned superannuation. I mean, it's a nonsense, and that will end as well. OK, today the former Treasurer will bid farewell to Parliament, Joe Hockey, after 20 years. Do you feel responsible for ending his 20-year service? No, not at all. I mean, Joe's taken the decision to leave the parliament. He served the country well for over 19 years as a parliamentarian, not just as on the front bench of the coalition for, I think, 16 of those years, but also he was a great local member for North Sydney, and I know his constituents really valued the hard work Joe did in North Sydney. He was a great colleague over many years, and he'll continue to, I'm sure, offer the country great service.
Were you two mates?
Oh yeah, Joe and I have known each other a really long time. I mean, politics is a tough business, Carl. We worked together closely on the last budget. I was on the ERC with him. We worked on any number of issues together. I think last time we spoke was when we were talking about the pension changes. That's what we worked together on. We were professional colleagues who were getting the job done.
Is it fair to say you aren't mates now if that's the last time you spoke?
No, it's not fair to say that we're not mates now. There's no bitterness that goes on from these things. That's not Joe's nature, it's not mine.
Did it feel bad to shaft him?
Oh, that's a ridiculous question, Carl, and it's quite offensive, actually.
Well, you did do that, though, didn't you?
No, I didn't, Carl, and if you want to suggest that, you can back it up, mate, but I think that's just playing some pretty pathetic politics over what will be, I think, a difficult day for Joe. He has the support of his colleagues and the best wishes, and I don't think it's fair for you to suggest anything different.
You sleep all right at night, though?
I sleep well every night, mate.
Okay, just
How do you sleep?
One final question. Pretty well. One final question. When will the budget return to surplus?
Well, as I said yesterday, when expenditure's less than revenue.
When's that going to be?
In the future, when we get to that point. That's why I'm trying to control expenditure and grow the economy so we grow jobs, which will increase revenue and get us back to surplus.
Good on you, Scott. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay, Lisa.
It's been